change. Running through my heart, dial through my pain.
Asifuddin, mashallah.
Saqib Ali.
Yes.
Mashallah.
It's been, this is the second time, right?
What second time?
Second time you rerouted.
Oh, yeah.
You forgot the first one.
No, I haven't forgotten it. That's the only one I've done.
Yeah, so it's the second one.
4 or 5 then, okay.
Alhamdulillah. So, we've been doing a lot of work. Well, us two personally, in terms of, we've been working closely together.
Yep.
In terms of getting some things up and running.
Yeah.
But there's a question. Why isn't anyone bothered by new Muslim support?
I
mean, why is dawah seen as like, the appealing, the most attractive option?
Yeah, why is post-shahada dawah not glamorous? It's because everyone's likes a little bit of, I don't know. They like that process of giving dawah and trying to convince someone. You've kind of, in that respect, you've kind of won
them over, yeah.
Yeah, won them over. And once they're convinced, once you won them over, then dealing with the real issues that they're going through, it takes a different shift and a different kind of like job role in some respects, because you go on from being like a da'i, in some respects, to becoming like a social worker.
Okay.
And that's not glamorous. No one wants to be dealing with other people's problems, right? I don't feel that from a post-shahada perspective, we need to do that. Do I necessarily have to do that? Obviously, you have to help them and help them with that transition. But I feel that one of the most important things that new Muslims really need is to connect them as strongly as possible to Allah, and have that tawakkul. Try to connect them as much as they can with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and show them that when you have that, then everything will become easy. In actual fact, this is advice that a new Muslim gave me. He actually told me that I think he's studying in Egypt. He's studying in Azhar, and he told me that he says, one of the things that I felt that I wasn't really given is when I became a Muslim, they didn't really kind of inculcate that into me. It was more about information overload, and when I was going through some of the problems I was going through, they're trying to deal with it, but really I should have been given the right kind of tarbiyah, the kind of
development.
Yeah, development of really dealing with those kind of issues myself. I'm not saying that new Muslims should go with this alone. I do actually feel that new Muslims, the best people to help new Muslims are actually new Muslims, or people who were Muslims who converted to Islam. But I mean, yeah, it is because some of the difficulties that new Muslims go through, it is a bit of a jump, and then they come to the realization of, okay, there's a Jannah and there's a Akhir, there is a Jannah and Jahannam, there's a hellfire and there's paradise, and then they start getting worried about their family and so on and so forth. It could be a really massive struggle. I
mean, that was one of the questions. A brother from America, he in reply to the trailer for the first episode, he opened up and he said that he's had a sort of Lutheran upbringing as a Christian, and now he's in a position where he's trying to give dawah to his non-Muslim parents.
Yeah.
And he he gets an inkling that they don't truly believe that Jesus is the Son of God, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So he's thinking, like, what's the best approach of, like, how does he deal with it? Because it's a really deep issue. How would you go about advising a new Muslim regards to how to deal with their non-Muslim family members and, like, their fate in the akhirah as well, in the afterlife?
So the thing is that the most difficult people to give dawah to are your own family, because they've seen you as a little kid. Who is this little kid to give me dawah? I used to take care of this little kid, and he's going to be teaching me. So there's an element of that, and there's also an element of how you were before you became Muslim, right? Like maybe you weren't very good to your parents, you weren't very good to your family. So why are they going to listen to you now? So there's all of these things, but one of the things that I do actually try to emphasize a lot is that as soon as someone becomes Muslim, they really need to learn how to give da'wah. They've actually gone through that process in some respects where they were on the receiving end of it. Now they have to learn what was said to them so that they can give da'wah to their own family. So it's really about empowering them. And in actual fact, I actually find this mechanism really powerful for new Muslims to stay steadfast, because one of the best ways to stay on the path or stay upon Islam and become stronger as a Muslim is to give da'wah. It's one of the most powerful ways of actually of staying and having high iman.
It's like reaffirming your faith.
Yeah.
And not reconvincing yourself, but it's just like reaffirming the foundations and again and again.
Yeah, tajdeed al-iman, you're renewing your iman. Like example, let's just say that I've learnt a script. Let's just say Go Rap as an example, right? So those of you don't know what Go Rap is, and that's like the IRA conversation on how to give da'wah to non-Muslims. And there's a whole course. I hope that you guys can actually join it. But imagine if I've memorized Go Rap, I know every single part of it, right? And I say this Go Rap to 10 non-Muslims, right? How many times have they heard it? Once. How many times have I heard it? 10 times, right? So it's like dhikr. The more you say something, the more you have like an increase of iman, the more certainty you'll have, and so on and so forth. And I actually feel that when it comes to da'wah, it's really not about knowledge. It's really about experience. It's about how do you connect with an individual? How do you actually connect with someone? And it's not really what comes out of your mouth. And there's actually, it's quite funny because I said, there's this one sister, subhanAllah, she's got a really bit of a sad story. She's probably going to be watching. She was really worried about her family. So she's not from this country. She's from Eastern Europe, and she came here and she's doing a degree here in the UK. And she asked me a question, and really it was really heartbreaking. So she's had space to basically speak, to discover Islam, to learn about Islam, and she eventually became Muslim. And she's the only child in a family, and her family's back in Eastern Europe. And she basically said to me that I'm really worried that my parents are not going to become Muslim. So is it better that I don't give da'wah to them because they wouldn't have heard about Islam, right? Because obviously if you tell someone about Islam, then the proof is established upon you,
Yeah,
right?
I mentioned this to Imran. I asked the exact same question to Imran like yesterday.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
SubhanAllah.
Yeah,
What was it about though?
It was one of our colleagues. He has a non-Muslim family member who passed away through marriage, and he's kind of taken a bit of a hit in regards to it, thinking, should I have given him better dawah? Was it because of my shortcomings, etc., etc.? Because he's a really nice guy.
Yeah.
And so it's just like, how do you deal with that?
Yeah, to be honest, Sheikh Abdul Rahim gave me really good advice on this. So he basically said, first of all, you don't know what's going to happen to them, right? You don't know what's going to happen to them. You don't know whether they may become Muslim. By you trying to shelter them from the hellfire or what may possibly be their fate in the hereafter, you're not actually protecting them, because maybe they're written to go to the hellfire anyway. Do you understand my point? Because even if someone doesn't learn about Islam, they're still going to be tested on the Day of Judgment. And it may be that they fail that test and they end up going to the hellfire. So by you not conveying Islam to them, then you're not protecting them. So it's not like a fail-safe. And besides what the Sheikh said, I actually added a few other things. And I said, look, sister, you want to, inshallah, get married. You're going to be marrying a Muslim brother, a good Muslim brother, and you're going to have children, and you want to bring them up as Muslims. So you have to have that difficult conversation, and that's actually one of the most difficult conversations that you'll have, with your family, and that is that you're going to tell them that they're Muslim. And in actual fact, there's one sister I know, another sister that I know. She hasn't told her family that she hasn't become Muslim yet, because what she wants to do is that she wants to kind of, save up a bit of money, and then when she tells, be financially secure, because she's really worried she's going to get kicked out. And this is actually something which is very common.
It's very common in the UK. There's another sister who's messaging us on Instagram, subhanAllah, and we're sending her items, Islamic related items, to her home, and she's like messaging us, when's the item coming? And she's really paranoid as well, and she's worried about her mum finding out that she's Muslim, and you'd think, like, you know, we're living in this open and free society, that a lot more people will be a lot more like welcoming to their children changing their faith or adopting a new faith, but it's quite backward, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, part of it is because of what they've learned about Islam. So they need to undo some of the things they've actually learned about Islam due to the media and how it portrays Islam. And also some of it's cultural. So I've actually found that those who are the harshest, I mean, this is my own experience, I'm not saying this is the case with everyone, but those who are the most harsh when it comes to Islam are, for instance, who've had some bad experiences, or they've had some kind of cultural friction, such as, say, South Asians, right? So Indians, non-Muslim Indians, as an example, they tend to be quite harsh with Islam. And in actual fact, there's a friend of mine, he told me about, this is crazy, there's a friend of mine, he told me about a brother that he knows, and he was like from a very high caste of one of these South Asian religions. And he was so scared to tell his family, and he just like hid his Islam, and to the extent that he got married to a non-Muslim, and this happened, and he had kids.
Wait.
Yeah. It's crazy. And that basically...
He lived a second life, pretty much. Yeah,
not only that, he's actually fallen into fornication, zina, as well, as a result, right? But this is... And that's the thing, we have to... I know it's so difficult, and I cannot, you know... I cannot sit here, and basically not say that, I can say it's difficult, but I've not been through that process, right? And sometimes I can empathize as much as I can, but that empathy will only go so far. And I from the conversations that I've had with a lot of new Muslims, it is really, really difficult. SubhanAllah, just, what is it? It's March right now, right? Yeah. Just December that just went past, the winter holidays, Christmas holidays. There's one sister, very young sister. She converted to Islam like a year ago, and she basically messaged me. She said, "We have Christmas dinner, and I haven't told my family that I'm Muslim. Like, what do I do in that situation?" And she said the same thing. She said, "Look, I'm gonna be, I'm looking to move out. Once I've moved out, then I'm going to tell my family about how I've converted and whatnot." But it's really tough. It's so difficult. I think there's two things which are really difficult. The first thing is, how do you tell your family about the fact that you become Muslim? And I feel that one of the ways that you can do this, it's obvious, right? But sometimes the best way to advise someone is the way that you would actually advise someone, right? Sometimes people... They know the answer, but they just need to hear it from someone else. That's what tends to happen when it comes to advice, right? And that is that you need to show that you've improved. What has Islam done for you? What has Islam done to you, right? In that, has your akhlaq, has your character, become better? What was your relationship with your parents or your family before you became Muslim? If it was bad, then what have you done to improve it? All of these things, they make a massive difference. In actual fact, there was a story. There was this. I read somewhere where there was this one person. He was going through a lot of problems in his life. He was addicted to alcohol and drugs and stuff like that. He turned his life around, and a lot of it was down to him converting to Islam. And his mother had nothing bad to say about Islam. She said, if Islam did this to him, then what have I got a problem with? I'm glad he became Muslim. Because before he became Muslim, he was this and he was that, and he just used to do all kinds of crazy stuff. So that's a very extreme example. But the point is that new Muslims, they really need to do something, show their parents and their family how Islam has actually changed them, right? Because it's very easy to argue with your family because you're out of sheer eagerness and desperation, you're going to be speaking to your family. And, you know, generally when someone's very enthusiastic and very, you know, you can be a little bit harsh.
Harsh, overzealous,
Yeah.
you know, like a bit, they may think you just joined a cult, to be honest. Jamal, can we bring you in, please? He wasn't humid. He forgot. Yeah, I had to bring you in, bro.
So
Because
what?
you're a resident new Muslim, right? Alhamdulillah. So, just
New Muslim.
like, you know, revert Muslim. New Muslim, revert Muslim.
They say we're always new Muslims, isn't it? Because
Yeah,
there's so much to
yeah.
learn.
So yeah, Jamal. So in your own personal experiences, you know, when you became Muslim, and you know, you had your sort of non-Muslim family members to sort of interact with and deal with. Did they see the change, the sudden shift in character, the sudden shift in the way you behaved, and some of the habits you may have dropped? What was that like?
Yeah, that's always the important thing. You know, when someone becomes Muslim, it's the way their life was before and how they change it. So, for example, if you were someone that would maybe like do things like drinking or something like that, maybe a bit of a violent character, when you embrace the deen and you change your life, then your family instantly, they notice a change. If you remember last episode with Chris, and he said, for example, even his dietary changes and stuff like that, and the family, they always pick up on it, they always notice it. So yeah, that's the thing. When you change your lifestyle, when you change where you are, then it becomes instant. They pick up on it, and it's really good because eventually, when you say to them, for example, you know, have you noticed a change, you know, in the last 6 months or last 2-3 months or whatever, and they say, you know, yeah, you know, obviously, we noticed it's something different about you, something better about you, and what that means is it works really well.
Yeah, it's fun though.
Yeah. So
But you know,
Go on.
the important thing is just is to never give up. You know, there's so many examples of this. You know, like Sheikh Abdul Rahim, his father.
yeah.
You know, he took his shahada, may Allah accept it, you know, on his
Ameen.
deathbed. You know, Rahim as well, you know, Rahim Jung. I think it was his mother, if I'm not mistaken. She took a shahada on her deathbed. There's another brother as well, really interesting mix. He was half Pakistani, half Polish.
Okay.
And same thing with his mother. She took a shahada on her deathbed. So I think the important thing is never, ever give up hope. Never, ever give up hope. And I say this a lot. I say this a lot to new Muslims. You know, don't think, it doesn't matter how far you think your parents are from Islam. Who is a more extreme example than Umar ibn Khattab radiallahu anhu? He was on his way to assassinate, on his way to kill the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he ends up becoming like one of the greatest companions.
I just thought of another example.
Go on.
What about Fir'aun? He was trying to testify, wasn't he, in his last moments?
Yeah, but that's different though.
That was out of obviously different reasons. But
Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean,
yeah.
if Fir'aun is like the worst example ever in
Yeah,
terms
yeah.
of humanity.
Sure.
So you know, you've had some really good experiences, alhamdulillah, with New Muslim support recently, and
Sure.
you're running the webinar sessions. So, is there anything about those webinar sessions, like something striking that came across? Any funky stories? Or I'm gonna have a rant like the first episode, so I'm
That's
gonna
fine.
hold that back for that
No
for now.
problem.
But
No, it was really interesting actually about the new Muslim classes that I was doing. Started a few months ago. Is that surprisingly there were actually quite a few non-Muslims who attended.
okay, nice.
Yeah, and 2 of them actually became Muslim during the course.
Alhamdulillah.
So it was a bit of a like, what's the word?
Try before you buy.
Yeah, try before you buy. Try before you buy. And I think what it was is that they knew Islam was, you know, was the truth, and them taking the shahada was actually something which was quite inevitable. It's just that they needed that bit of push or that kind of motivation.
I think it's a case of them trying to immerse themselves within Islam
Yeah,
before they actually, like, because I just use that term, try before you buy. People go to the supermarket and there'll be someone with a piece of cheese on a toothpick, and that's like a shopping decision over a piece of cheese for the rest of that week.
yeah,
So this is like a change in lifestyle, a change in, changing how the way you live altogether. So obviously there's gonna be people or non-Muslims reluctant to actually fully immerse themselves within Islam.
yeah.
And I think us opening up these sort of courses and a new Muslim training platform for them, it's going to be like a perfect avenue for that, inshallah.
In actual fact, this is actually a great form of da'wah as well.
Yeah.
So when we're talking about new Muslim classes, it's not just developing or helping new Muslims, but it's actually a great form of dawah. And you know, subhanAllah, there's one thing that happened is that one of the people who actually became Muslim on the course, he was given wrong information. I think it was on Wiki how to become Muslim. He wanted to learn how to become Muslim, and he was delaying his Islam. And I said, brother, like, why are you delaying your Islam? You know, just become Muslim. He said, no, because I've read on Wiki how that in order to become Muslim, you have to find an imam of a mosque to give you the shahada.
Okay.
And he said, because of lockdown and whatnot, he said that every single time I go to the mosque, the mosque is closed and I can't find the imam, right? And you know, they didn't pick up the number or something like that. And I said, no, this is bakwas, man. This is rubbish. So then I said, look, let's speak. So we had like a FaceTime conversation or whatever, and then, you know, and I said, look, you don't have to do that. In actual fact, you know, you can take shahada yourself, or I can actually I can help you. And then, you know, we spoke for about 20-30 minutes, and then alhamdulillah, the brother, he took his shahada, and he's really emotional as well.
I mean, a lot of people don't know that you could actually take the shahada by yourself. Yeah. Even there's a lot of Muslims who advise non-Muslims about that, saying, oh no, you have to, like, your shahada doesn't even count because you did it by yourself. me and Musa came across of that recently with a sister in Canada or something like that, and that's what she was advised. So it's just a lot of misinformation there.
There was that story, I think it was in a Guardian newspaper, where there's this one guy from Scotland who's never met any Muslims, and he just started researching about Islam, and he just took a shahada, just like that. He just learned about Islam, said, wow, this is amazing. He just, took a shahada like that. So a person can become Muslim without, doing it in the presence of an imam or something like that. But yeah, so he was one of the guys, and then there was a sister. She took a shahada with a local masjid, and that was in front of an imam, and and alhamdulillah, it was really good. There were actually a couple of people on the course who are still non-Muslim, but they're Muslim without taking they're Muslims without taking the shahada. So they really need to take the shahada. Okay,
there's a guy, I want to tell you about him. I'm not going to name him or anything, but last week myself and Imran spoke to this non-Muslim brother. He's been researching Islam for the last 5 years. He's doing 3 out of the 5 pillars. He hasn't done Hajj and he hasn't done the Shahada yet, but he's paying zakat. He uses a zakat calculator. He fasts, mashallah, and he prays. And that's he's delaying the Shahada for a couple of reasons. Because he understands the weight of the promise in it of itself. But yeah, it's
funny because Sheikh Kamal Makki, so he's got like a dawah course, right? So the one example that he mentioned was quite funny. He said that there was this one guy, and he described him. He's like a white guy. He's fully tattooed. It looks quite elderly. He looks like Father Christmas. He said, right, and he said that he was like a mechanic. And he used to go past this mechanic, not every so often, but he used to go there. He just randomly just went there, and he started speaking to him about Islam. And he said, "Yeah, I'm interested in Islam. I'm already reading the Quran." He said, "Oh wow, really?" He said, "Yeah." He said, "So why don't you become Muslim?" He said, "I want to basically read the Quran, and then I want to check it out, and I'll see." So after some months, the Sheikh, he went over to this place, and he spoke to this guy again. He said, "So what happened? Did you read the Quran?" He said, "Yeah, I love the Quran. It's beautiful. It's really good." So why don't you become Muslim? He said, "At the moment, I'm reading Sahih al-Bukhari." And he started laughing. He says, "Come on, man. Are you going to start reading like Sahih Muslim and Abu Dawud until you finally become Muslim?" He said, "Look," and this is a really good way of actually giving dawah to someone. You don't need to know everything about Islam before you become Muslim. Like example, he gave a really good example that he could relate with. And that is that, imagine if you're buying a car. Right. So what are you looking for to decide whether you're going to buy the car or not? You're going to look at the mileage. You're going to look at this. You're going to look at that. Whether it's automatic or manual or this and that. So once it ticks all the boxes, then you're going to buy the car. In the same respect, you should have like a falsification test or some kind of test to decide whether Islam is the truth. Is it this? Is it that? Once it ticks all those boxes, just become Muslim. And he really, because he's a mechanic, he could really relate to that. And then alhamdulillah he took his shahada.
I mean, well, this guy, he's doing a PhD in something, so...
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and at the moment he's reading Ibn Kathir's tafsir of the Quran as well. So he's really studious, mashallah.
Oh, wow.
Inshallah, yeah, we'll make dua for him that he's going to accept it
Inshallah.
sooner rather than later. But I just want to speak to the audience members out there in regards to this. They may know a non-Muslim that they've been giving dawah to for X amount of years, or even they haven't been giving dawah to them, but they know about a non-Muslim who wants to know more about Islam, and they want to do the whole try before you buy thing. So now for the last good few months, you've been doing the New Muslim step-by-step course, the actual course that's going to go on newmuslim.ira.org. So we could actually point those non-Muslims to this site, so they could join up, they could check it out, they fill in the form, and they could, we could directly get in touch with them as well, inshallah. Doesn't matter where they are in the world.
It's a really good course because it doesn't just talk about the basics and the foundations of Islam. So it's not just talking about the 5 pillars of Islam. It actually goes beyond that as well. So it talks about how this life is a test. And you are going to go through problems and you are going to go through challenges in your life. How do you deal with those challenges? It also talks about, some of the issues related to shaitan, right? Because he's our real enemy. And how do we actually deal with those kind of, these kind of things? So it's a really good practical course. It's not just like information, data, knowledge. No. It actually gives you really good practical advice on how to navigate your life after becoming a Muslim.
Jazakallah Asif bhai. I mean, I usually call you Ustaji, right? So actually I jacked that one off Nadeem Ashraf.
That's all right. No worries.
But I was going to say,
it's better than being the OG, isn't it?
Yeah, Budaji or something. Yeah, so but yeah, you got a talk right now, so we literally kidnapped you for today's show.
That's right, no worries.
So a big jazakallah for helping out. MashaAllah, the course has come together very nicely. We're just putting the final touches of it now. So all that information is going to be in the description box, and the main course should be up and running by then. Inshallah. My joke? What's my joke?
What's your joke?
Your pun that you have with Asif, what is it again?
What pun? Oh yeah.
What's that?
Ana Asif.
For those of you who didn't get it, Ana Asif means I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But that's not my name though, man. My name is Asif, which means which is actually one of the companions of Sulaiman alayhi salam. It's just that if you say it Asif with a sin, it means sorry.
I really appreciate the tajweed lesson.
That's all right,
yeah,
man.
no, I'm just we don't care.
There's no need to be Asif, man. There's no need to be apologetic.
I'm still gonna drop that joke. I don't care.
Whatever, man.
Alright, jazakallah. Okay, so Imran Hussain expects a rant of the week from me, or a rerouted rant. I think we call it rerouted rants or rant. Is it a rant or rant? Rant is a bit posh, isn't it?
Yeah, rant.
But rant is a bit northern. That's how northerners say it.
No, rant is the correct one.
Nah, that's northerners, man.
No, it's definitely rant.
Huh?
Definitely rant, definitely.
I don't know. We'll have to double check this one for the next episode. So the rant of this week is pretty much born Muslims. Well, knowledgeable born Muslims turning up to New Muslim webinars. And the concept, actually I witnessed it myself. It was maybe a couple of months ago, and one of the instructors was leading a session, and then a sister, she ended up giving some sort of khutbah during the New Muslim class, and she started reciting ayat from the Quran and etc. And I was just watching it and I was thinking, why is she even here? It's like a class for New Muslims and she's reciting ayat from the Quran. I mean, she should be leading the session, let alone being like an attendee. I was thinking, it just didn't make sense. I know there's a lot of born Muslims there who may not be knowledgeable enough. They want to learn more about the deen and they think, the step-by-step course is perfect for them. And you know what? To those Muslims, welcome. Please join us. Obviously, for those sessions also, the priority is always going to be the new Muslims as well as the non-Muslims who want to ask questions after the session. But yeah, that's the rant of the week. And yeah.
Yeah, but Saqib, surely it must be okay for a born Muslim to attend an event for new Muslims just to make them kind of feel like, okay, look, this is where you can be, just to give them an understanding, and maybe it can help with helping them to settle into the new deen. Surely there's an argument for that as well.
I mean, okay, by all means, I did kind of touch upon it, that it's okay for born Muslims who are getting back into the deen to take part in those classes, or even sign up to the main course. That's fine. It's all about the more practicing and knowledgeable ones who want to take part. It's like, really, they should know the basics, the foundations of it. And if they don't, then okay, you join in on the sessions, and you just just be a spectator and try to take in as much as you can, take the notes and everything. But for you to really take part in terms of the questions you may ask to the instructor, it may make the new Muslims very confused. You may ask some deep philosophical question, or you might point out something really random from the seerah, and then it may really confuse them. And you have to remember, you have non-Muslims on the same webinar class as well, and they're in this position where it's like, okay, am I going to accept it or am I not? And if they hear this funky question, then we're like, what is this? Is this what Islam is all about? And it might put them off altogether, bro. So
they sort of like, they hijack the event.
Exactly, they hijack the event. They do a khutbah like that, as AT says it. AT up north, our EU, our head of EU dawah, he says it like he's witnessed it himself in live events, saying like, born Muslims, usually some Uncle G, Auntie G, they jump on the stage or wherever it may be, and they just take over and they just say the most random things. I remember once I was with Imran, we were in Birmingham, and he was giving dawah to an Italian sister, non-Muslim sister, who's very interested in Islam. Uncle G just comes in and he just starts randomly he starts talking about random stuff like, do you know pork is haram? Like bacon isn't allowed. And then, funnily enough, I actually saw a meme about it later on, and it's just it was. I kind of had to I had to sort of sidetrack him and take him away from that conversation altogether, because it was just it was kind of hilarious.
I guess that makes sense.
Yeah,
I guess rant accepted on this.
Yeah,
one.
okay, yes, we accepted this time. I want the graphics to be a bit different. I'm thinking more fire alarm, but let's see how it goes. But I only started practicing maybe like 10 years ago, but I kind of utilized the resources that I had at hand, and that's what's on the form as well. Myself and Abeda, the IT manager, mashallah, we put this form together on the New Muslim online learning platform. So it splits into 3 areas. It splits into New Muslim, obviously, and whether or not they want to accept our New Muslim mentorship services. And then it splits into Born Muslim and Non-Muslim. So with a Non-Muslim, it's like, okay, you're interested in taking this course or taking part in the webinars. So do you want a call from us so we could further facilitate you learning more about Islam? And there's been several people who've signed up already, and we haven't really pushed this platform yet as of the time of this recording. And then there's the Born Muslim section, and it's like really making sure that do they really need to take part on this course or on the webinars themselves, and do they or whether or not they have access to those services around them, a masjid, a knowledgeable, a family member. So, and if they do, then is there any reason for them to actually take part in the webinars? Inshallah, next episode, Imran Hussain is going to be back with us. Unfortunately, he had a few family issues to deal with. So make dua for him and his family. And to be honest, the next episode is going to be quite of an interesting concept, because we did a touch upon it in this episode, and it's about there's so many non-Muslims out there who are so close to accepting Islam, and they're just on the edge, and it's going to be called exiting the matrix. That whole concept of red pill, blue pill.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So I know you. I'm pretty sure you've got family members yourself who are quite close, right?
I do. Yeah, I do. Actually, yes, I do. And
Yeah.
my niece actually is very, very close, and
Inshallah.
hopefully she can watch this episode and
Inshallah, yeah.
that give a little bit of a push.
Yeah, exactly. Because tomorrow isn't guaranteed, and there's so many non-Muslims out there. I'm sure of it. SubhanAllah. I mean, we're being I wouldn't say inundated with messages, but we are getting a fair amount of messages on the New Muslim training portal from non-Muslims saying, I want to learn more about Islam. And I touched upon the conversation with the guy doing his PhD, the conversation that me and Imran had with this guy. He's practicing 3 out of the 5 pillars. So and he's been doing that for a fair few years. But yeah, I mean, I think it's just, and I know there's a lot of Muslims who are watching this show who know about other non-Muslims who are close. So, you know, I think try to get them. You know what? All the details are gonna be in the description in regards to how for them to get in touch with us.
We're gonna be calling some of them, right? Is that right?
I mean, that's the plan. We're gonna actually try to speak to them on the show itself. They don't have to turn up in terms of their face or anything like that. They don't have to be on camera, but they could speak about what they're going through at the moment, and then we could try to sort of facilitate them accepting Islam or learning more about it initially, because I'm pretty sure there's so many more cases. There's so many cases out there, and I think this should be a core component of this show as it is, to engage with the audience. We touched upon the new Muslim problem, the typical new Muslim problem earlier on in the show as well. How to deal with non-Muslim family members, and that's what we're going to try to bring, like a further depth to the show in that regard, to engage with the audience. And yeah, so that's what we're going to be doing next episode, inshallah.
What about for people who always struggle with dawah? I know obviously Rerouted Raw is kind of like really getting down to the crux of things and getting people to actually become more active. So we're not actually going to be speaking to non-Muslims on their behalf, are we? We want them to still do it themselves, right?
Obviously, I mean, yeah, we can't do. So it's pretty much we're gonna lead by example, inshallah, and they could really take control of certain situations as well, and try to do their best. And if they come across, you know, a few hurdles here and there, then, you know, we're here for them in that regard. We've got outreach specialists all over the world, yeah, and we've got 109 at the moment in all the continents, yeah. So there's always pretty much we have all the major languages covered, and alhamdulillah, the results are showing it for themselves at the moment. We've eclipsed last year's shahada figures already. I did ask Andres for the latest shahada figures, but he hasn't got back to me yet. I think he's waiting for his guys. But we've already eclipsed last year's figures. I think we're on 8,000 plus already. So it goes to show, like, you know, there's certain parts in the world where it's really growing, and, you know, and the West is always going to be there as well. It's going to be a part of it.
Talking about that, bro.
Yeah.
I mean, look, the stats, right?
Yeah.
The infamous stats.
Yeah.
People always talk about the stats. I mean, look, at the end of the day, we need our supporters to understand the incredible work that's being done by the team, not just us here, but the team around the world, right? So we're not taking credit for anybody else. It's about them. But the stats are very important, but we always have this dilemma of what is the most interesting way of letting our donors know that, you know, guys, this is what you've done. Because I think people might switch off. I mean, look at that boxing video. That was an amazing video, right? And I've got to show a clip of this video if I can. This amazing video, and the story was going on, and you know, stuff like that. And then suddenly, we had these stats that came out of nowhere. Now, for our main supporters, those stats are very, very, very important, and they probably would have found that to be the most important part of that whole video. But if everybody else, it was like, hang on a second, what happened to the protagonist here? What are we talking about? What's going on here? That was kind of wow. Where did that come from?
Yeah. So you put me into a funny situation here, Jamal. Nice one. So all the bruises that I'm gonna get from Hamza about this, it's your fault.
Well, I mean, look, it just so happened to be that Hamza was the one delivering the stats, but it was something that had to be done. How could he do it in a way that it's sort of like, okay, yes, this is still entertaining. What could he do? Like, you know, like special effects or something like that? Well, we tried that, but it didn't really work. But stats need to be delivered.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing. You know, it's Ramadan to Ramadan, and we had to show it, like, the donors and showcase the work we've done. And I mean, and we really need to sort of present that in a fashionable way, in a very nice way. So yeah, I think from year to year, it's one of those issues. There's cumbersome issues that we do come across, but I think I'm gonna do a spoof version. I think that's the plan. That's in the way.
Yeah, you promised that.
Yeah. I'm gonna do a spoof version of what we did. Let's see how that goes. Let's see how that comes across.
But seriously, I mean, as I mentioned that, and we made a joke out of it, but the stats are really the most important thing that we want to come across, right? So it's our job to make it more interesting. But you just mentioned, for example, we have 109 outreach specialists in every continent. And I think obviously if we just pondered on that for a little bit, I mean, 109, I mean, we started modestly with just one or two, outreach specialists and team members, and sort of now becoming 109 around the globe. It's a big thing, really. And this is 109 people who are training other people who are going out and giving dawah. And then so obviously the stats become exponential. So we just need to sort of jazz it up a little bit, maybe like spend a bigger budget and a better script maybe. Our script was perfect, by the way.
Alhamdulillah, the script, mashallah, that was an amazing script that we put together as a team. We need to start working on those again as well. I can't
wait for the next one.
I think once everything sort of destabilizes and gets a bit normal, because there's only so much you could do across like webcams, and it's not the same, to be honest, to really throw those ideas. We had that inspirational couch on the
third floor.
On the third floor, that infamous area. We were trying to get a couple of fatwas here and there, but about that couch. But and that's one part of it, right? There's certain areas in the world, alhamdulillah, that are doing amazing in terms of the dawah we're doing in Latin America, in East Africa and the Philippines. And I mean, in essence, it's like, it's pretty much Islam in every home, or Muslim in every home. That's what we're trying to aim for. And inshallah, I mean, it's only been 10 years. There's been a lot of lessons learned. And, the next 10 years, inshallah, we're going to be really striving the way. We're going to be really paving the way of how we're going to move forward, inshallah.
And it's the stats that makes shows like this possible, because obviously. So
think of the stats as like an advert, in your favorite podcast. I mean, there's a lot of podcasts out there who'd actually where they'll have an actual advert in there. So think of it as like a mini sponsor advert. Just so.
Hi, are you fed up of having no Muslims in your neighborhood? Join us today and find a new way to deliver the message of Islam, and you get a chance to rap in the meantime.
See, just add a little jingle there, and then bam, we're done.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, alhamdulillah, great. That was a nice episode.
Breaking out the cage, I'm about to change. Adrenaline and rage, I may never change.